Hello, everybody. My name is Minerva Ward. I am the founder of one of St. Lucia's political and social commentary groups, Citizens Aiming for Progress, CAP. And at the end of this year and the cusp of a new year, I wanted to add my voice to the discussion around who is deserving or who is most deserving for St. Lucia's Person of the Year. So, I think we'll all agree that 2020 has been a year like no other. The irony of all of this is that this year, 2020, was supposed to be a year projected globally as a year that people like throughout the world saw the fruits of the development planning that went into developmental planning for the last basically 2 decades. So I think we're all poised personally, individually, in countries, in our tourism industry, in our various industries, in our own businesses, that 2020 was supposed to be our year, the great year, that we were all expecting this boom year, not just in St. Lucia, but throughout the world because of the amount of developmental planning that had gone into it for the last 2 decades. So that's the irony of all of this. For some countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Vision 2020 marked the year when much developmental planning and resources would congeal into a better future for all. The realities of 2020 have been somewhat less positive than we all anticipated. A global pandemic, the deepest and sharpest decline in economic output since the Great Depression, widespread joblessness, downturn in business activity, and the closure of businesses large and small. None have been spared. No country, no matter its economic size, no business, none basically have been immune to the ravages of this pandemic. We've seen businesses that have been around for over a century have had to close their doors. We've seen that. So this pandemic has had effects economically, socially, in all different ways throughout the world, like businesses, economies, large and small. 2020 has exposed the limits of governments to respond to the concurrent crises. And beyond the quantitative, the crisis of 2020 has had real human consequences. Our families, our friends, us personally, we've all been impacted in one way or the other, either through mental health issues such as isolation, anxiety, depression, and so on, or through the loss of people we know or know of. None of us have been spared. We've all had to make adjustments to our normal way of life, the way we do things, the way we shop, the way we socialize. We've all had to make adjustments. This is the New Year's Eve, a night where we typically would be enjoying the fireworks in one location or the other, by a beach in St. Lucia like I did last year, or a hotel, or in our homes, whatever way we normally spend New Year's Eve. This year is very, very, very different. We all have been impacted from COVID. But 2020 has also allowed for renewal, what some may call creative destruction. So the shedding of past habits and practices, giving way to a new dawn, a new tomorrow. And I think we all see that, like the COVID, this pandemic has really forced new ways of doing things on us. So this whole move towards online education, it has hastened that. It was probably something that we should have been moving towards at a much faster speed. It has now hastened that. It has hastened the opening of hospital facilities in St. Lucia, of medical facilities. It has hastened all of those things. It has created new business opportunities. So here in North America, the convenience economy, where you have Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, all those convenience delivery, the move towards Amazon and online shopping, and even in St. Lucia, like we saw small businesses really take advantage of that in the first closure of the country, where people could not really go out and shop, so the lines were long. We saw businesses pivot, small businesses farmers, bakeries pivot to home delivery and, nicely packaged agricultural products or fish and so on, and home delivery. That convenience economy is one of the industries that has emerged out of this crisis, and it's not going to go away. I think once the world has gotten used to the convenience of sitting at home and ordering in and having stuff delivered to you, even if you have to pay a premium, that's going to be around for I think that's going to be our new normal. So businesses have some businesses have been able to pivot and to have actually done well, or if not better, through this pandemic. That's my point when I talked about creative destruction. So the shedding of past habits and practices giving way to a new dawn and a new tomorrow. Positive societal change seldom emerges from a position of comfort. We are typically dragged into a better future through war, civil unrest, and yes, as unfortunate and sad as it is, pestilence. But in order for these wrenching events to forward us to a new, more positive dawn, strong leadership is required. Leadership that can summon our collective energies to a vision of a new and better future. It was a visioning of FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, coming out of the Great Depression that led to the New Deal that had prompted a more equitable society. It was the social unrest of the 1960s that led to the Great Society that first placed racial justice at the cornerstone of US domestic policies. It was the blood-soaked soil of Europe that led to the establishment of the European Union. Yes, so many a great thing has emerged out of the ashes of suffering. It was upheaval and disquiet that propelled us forward. Such upheaval could have summoned the less noble angels of our own forebears. However, it is at these moments in time, the crucible of life, that true leaders emerge. It is that darkest hour that transformative leaders step out of the shallows. In the case of St. Lucia, two persons come to mind. Dr. Sharon Belmar George, who has proven herself to be calm in the midst of a storm and among the first of her peers. At a time when the world has seen a virus that it has not seen before, when things are shifting so quickly, when we are learning as we go, when even the WHO has been changing its positions on various things, we have had a CMO who has been steadfast, calm, and strong in the midst of all of this. Brilliant. She's been brilliant in the midst of this learning curve that we are all on, which can sometimes seem like a roller coaster. But thankfully, we have strong leadership of our CMO to enable us to see the success we have in managing COVID. And yes, St. Lucia remains among the best in the world in its management of COVID. So Dr. Sharon Belmar George confirmed what Derek Walcott and Sir Arthur Lewis have already proved, that we St. Lucians can achieve feats beyond the narrow confines of our own imagination. We have proven time and time again that we are capable of punching above our weight. The other person that comes to mind is our Prime Minister, Alan Chasney. He has been both agile and firm in responding to this crisis. Our Prime Minister took the lead in CARICOM and in many of the policy responses to the crisis, undaunted by criticism. He has led a government that has not only responded effectively to the public health crisis, the policies of his government have driven much needed economic activity through the unfurling of the largest public works program in the history of our country. And yes, the small army of men and women involved in these projects can eat the roads. Not literally, but that these infrastructure works have been able to put food on the tables of so many families and create a multiplier effect through the economy. And it's one of the big reasons our economy has managed to stay afloat even in the midst of this crisis. The government has persevered in attracting new investments into the country at a time when international capital is either on the sidelines or gobbled up in equity markets. The expansion of contact centers in Beaufort is one example of being nimble and responsive. As a matter of fact, some of our contact centers in Beaufort have been able to take advantage of opportunities that other Caribbean countries have failed to do. The Prime Minister has also been present ahead of the implementation of any new policy, response to the pandemic. He has taken the time to appear before the nation to explain the rationale behind any new policy. And I think I've admitted this time and time again. I don't always understand the rationale behind the Prime Minister's thought process or the reason for why he does things. But when he explains his rationale, I understand what his objective is, and I understand the goal he's trying to achieve. The PM has always preached unity and optimism amidst this world crisis, while some preached chaos, divisiveness, and doom and gloom. Optimism and positivity and our collective energies will always trump doom and gloom. And as St. Lucians, at the end of the day, it is what will energize us out of this crisis into a much stronger St. Lucia. The Honorable Prime Minister continues to be an advocate for the observance of protocols, all while maintaining the viability for economic survival. How we have been able to pay full salaries and keep the country moving is no easy feat. But that is the result of good governance. It doesn't just happen. That is the result of good governance, good creditworthiness, and skillful cash flow management. We are in a better position than some of the world's largest economies, which have not been able to manage as well as St. Lucia has. So if you do not listen to the international news, perhaps you should, or ask some of your friends and family who live in the mighty United States what's going on there. The policies being implemented by the government under the leadership of the Prime Minister have also been a catalyst that supports the structural transformation of our economy, our education, and healthcare systems. Coming out of this crisis, I believe we will be a stronger, more resilient country. Under the leadership of the Prime Minister, Alan Chasney, it is evident that St. Lucia will exit the crisis in a much stronger position than we went in. I have said repeatedly that the projects, developmental and infrastructural loans that were in the pipeline before COVID have placed us in a good position to come out stronger. There are a number of projects that were in the works even before COVID that we had gotten approval on funding and financing and so on. We are coming out of this crisis stronger. While other countries are scrambling to secure financing for the infrastructure works, or they may not even be in a position to secure that financing, St. Lucia is well poised thanks to the vision of this government. So while I want to highlight the work and the contribution and the leadership, the strong leadership of Dr. Sharon Belmar George and Prime Minister Alan Chasney, that is not who I want to name as St. Lucia's Person of the Year. Who I will name are St. Lucians, both at home and abroad. I think as St. Lucians, one thing I've observed, there are times where we come together, and one of these times, our independence is one, but in times of crisis. And in my lifetime, I've seen it time and time again. I saw it after Tropical Storm Debbie, I saw it after Hurricane Thomas in 2010, and I see it again in 2020. We St. Lucians, we come together and support each other. Despite our political divisions, despite all those things, at times of crisis, we come together as St. Lucians to support each other. And That is why I want to name St. Lucians, both at home and abroad, as our People of the Year. We have obeyed the protocols for the most part. There will always be outliers, there will always be exceptions. But for the most part, we have heeded the protocols. We have cooperated with the government and the CMO in understanding what they're trying to do in terms of keeping the country safe, keeping the country open, keeping the country running, keeping the economy going, keeping people employed, keeping a tax base that can then pay and provide the services that the country still needs to run on. We have done all of those things. St. Lucians, through many walks of life, have given to each other, to have given to those in need. You know, those who've done it visibly, with a camera always around, or those of us who've done it without needing, the publicity of giving. And there are thousands of us giving every single day to people less fortunate, to people in need. There are thousands of us in the diaspora sending money home. Why do you think the lines at Western Union, MoneyGram, and all these companies are so long? Because there are people in the diaspora sending money home, not just to family, not just to support a need in family. There are many sending money home to people who they don't even know, but identify a need and sending it to people or organizations to help somebody else, right? There's so many solutions at home who are feeding the poor, who are helping those in need, who are providing clothing, who are providing devices, and do it without the need for a show, And all these people who, the unsung heroes basically, the unsung heroes of our society, us, we St. Lucians, I think we are deserving of being People of the Year in our own right. All the small businesses who struggle to stay open, struggle to pivot, struggle to put up the personal protective equipment and to, all the stuff that's needed, like the plexiglass and all of that. All these small businesses that have done their very best not to lay off people or to do it in such a way to cause a minimum destruction or destabilization. There are so many St. Lucians in all walks of life, our neighbors, our, friends, our employers, so many St. Lucians throughout who have done their part in their own way. The frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors, the police, so many St. Lucians who have emerged, throughout this crisis as leaders in their own right, encouraging people, being positive, encouraging people to donate. You have people in diaspora in Martinique, in the US, in England, in Canada, who are collecting things and sending home. People in the different communities who are doing the same, right? Helping our fellow man in need. I think a big part of our response to this disease, to COVID, this virus, and how we emerge is that leadership, those champions in their own little way. Those people heeding the protocols and encouraging other people to do the same. The people staying positive in the midst of this all. The people who have to homeschool their kids and have to juggle work and homeschooling and finding devices and all those things. Like St. Lucians, we are our People of the Year. So I want to thank our CMO, thank our Prime Minister, thank our frontline workers, thank Cabinet, thank the decision makers, NEMAC, but all of us playing our own small role towards collectively moving past this virus and moving and looking forward to better days, brighter days where this virus is long behind us and we can go on with our lives, we can go on with our economies, we can continue building the new industries and businesses that have emerged, all of those things. So on the eve of this new year, I just want to raise a glass to all of us St. Lucians at home and abroad who are doing our own bit, large and small, to contribute to our country, to contribute to this fight against COVID, to work with the government, to heed to follow the protocols, to build our economy, to move beyond COVID, I want to raise a glass to all of us, and I want to wish every single one of you all the best for 2021. I wish you health, prosperity. I wish you happiness. I wish you better days. I wish you a strong economy. I wish you jobs. I wish you your business every success. I wish business opportunities. I wish safety and protection over our country, our Prime Minister, our CMO, our leaders, our priests, our pastors, and every single St. Lucian in the wider society. I want to raise my glass to you and say, cheers to 2021. Happy New Year. Thank you on behalf of Citizens Aiming for Progress, CAP.